Hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us at Ignite here on a Thursday morning at 9 o'clock.
Yes, early day.
I'm Amay Parandikar, a group program manager for meetings, and along with me, I have Andrew Snyderman, who is the group program manager for customer experiences in Teams. Now, I've known Andrew for a long time, like 14 years.
Let's go with that.
And I've had the privilege of working with him through several evolutions of what Skype for Business is, which was, if you remember, some of you guys might know the journey of like live communication server through Office communication server, through
Link,
and Skype for Business, and now Teams. And Andrew's done a terrific job of working with customers of all sizes, large customers, small customers, and helping them through this journey. And it's been truly amazing. And thank you for being here, Andrew.
Thanks, Amay. And can't really see you guys. Apparently, Mark Rasinovich filled this room a couple times this week. But this is a really big room for us. So thank you guys so much for coming out early. Amay and me have worked together for a long time, and Amay's team is responsible for all the goodness we're going to show you in the session. So Amay leads up a team that has led how we're reimagining meetings in Teams. And we've got this crazy demo setup with about 20 different dongles and stuff. And the meat of this is we're going to take you through exactly what that experience is. It's all what Amay's team has built, and we'll also show you what's coming. And the theory is between the two of us, we've got probably 20 plus years of experience working with customers and working with meetings. So hopefully we know a thing or two to make this a great experience for you.
Sounds good.
So
thank you, Andrew.
With that, let's roll on. So a customer sent me this. If you never played bingo, the idea is you get 5 across or 5 down or 5 diagonal, and I'd be willing to bet every single person in this room has had one of these things happen to them, probably multiple of these things happen to them. Me personally, I could get bingo pretty much every day. So we know in meetings there's this rich opportunity to make a better experience, a compelling experience. And if you can read some of these things in these boxes, some of it's social, like the guy who always says, hey, I got to go in a few minutes. But a lot of this we can solve with technology. And a lot of this we can solve now that we have a cloud-first service with first-class analytics and AI. So a lot of this stuff you can tell is our media issues. And now that we're on the service, not only can we look at the media characteristics of what you guys, your tenants send us, we see it across the entire spectrum of tenants. Plus we see it in the Skype consumer space. So over this rich data set that we can make media better, and we can certainly improve the experience. Some of the things we show to manage roster, mute, manage the control of participants. And we'll share this stuff with you. Anyway, lots we can do better in this space, lots we can do to add productivity to you guys' days, and that's what we're here for. So I just wanted to ground this in a couple things. If we go back to Monday on Satya's keynote, he talked a lot about digital transformation. And digital transformation is this cross-industry initiative to reimagine your businesses based on an intelligent cloud. And these are the 4 pillars of it. And we play pretty much in the engage your customers and empower your employees. On the big stage, remember Satya had that fancy AR mixed reality demo. But where did it show? It showed up in Teams. Teams was a canvas to expose that. So effectively, that was more of a product demo. You could say that Teams crosses all of these areas for digital transformation, workforce transformation, workplace transformation. So we're going to spend the majority of this thing talking about meetings, but I just want to share Teams, since its launch in March, fundamentally this kind of innovative chat-threaded workspace that just makes it really intuitive to work mobile, PC, work across all kinds of different content types, all kinds of different areas. These 4 kind of pillars are what we ground Teams in. So we added calls and meetings in Teams, right? That's what we announced on Monday. But Teams also has integration with all the O365 apps you know and love, Word, PowerPoint, as well as extending to Planner, Power BI, all natively in the tool. The thing's extensible, right? So we can go into it and we can look at the business processes specific to you or your customer. We can build bots and we can build apps for extensibility. Makes it really powerful so it's customized to what you want to get done. And then of course it's built on top of this framework of Office 365. So it inherits all the security and extensibility, security and manageability you expect there. So in the session on Monday afternoon, we announced intelligent communications. So effectively, Amay talked about all the different products we've had in this space. We used to call it unified communications. We evolved to universal communications. I actually really like this one because it's signaling that we now can take comms and leverage all these cool capabilities we have. For example, one of the really neat ones is transcription. You get a stream, you can transcribe it, you can translate it. Only possible when we have the AI capabilities and the machine learning capabilities in a service like Office 365. So these are the two core points we landed on Monday. So this whole thing is powered by effectively a next-gen cloud-first media stack. And effectively, when you'll go into Teams and you go to meetings or you go to communications, it'll say it's powered by Skype. So that's what's going on here. We have a new, highly performant, high-quality backend. And we want you guys to try that out and see the difference. And then the other thing was we announced that Teams is going to be the wrapper, is going to be the presentation for these new communications capabilities. And the last thing here, we added this one. Meetings are not like a bolt-on to Teams. Meetings have been in Teams since GA. And what we'll show you is how impactful it is to have the meeting and the artifacts live on within the context of Teams. I mean, that's really the magic there. So it's sitting on top of O365, using Office Graph, using all the backend services. So at this point, I'm going to transfer it over to Amay to talk about how this meeting lifecycle works.
Thank you, Andrew. So just by a quick show of hands, could you raise your hand if you're using Skype for Business, if your organization is using Skype for Business? OK, great. I mean, a lot of you. And how about Teams? Like, how many of you orgs are using Teams? OK, great. So I'm going to walk you through Teams meeting experiences and the demo. But before that, when we set on this road to build Teams about 2 years ago, we really took a step back and said, hey, how can we really improve the collaboration cycle for us and our users and our customers? Like today, for example, if you're familiar with Skype for Business or meeting tools like that, to get your job done, I mean, you have to start working with people over email, like add people to a thread, like which might get forwarded, or people might reply all to it, and the discussion continues over email. Now, if you want to work on a document, like a Word or a PowerPoint or Excel, somebody creates that, and it gets onto like a SharePoint site, and the next day you're getting pinged about, hey, man, I don't have access to the SharePoint site. Can you please give me access? So when you work on this document, when you meet for a Skype for Business meeting, then you have to think about, like, hey, what did we discuss in that email? Oh, I'm referring to that email where we just made this decision, right? Oh, and where's this document? Let me download it and start presenting it. So it's very, very frictionful. And then after the meeting, when you have meeting notes and action items, you have to rely on following up in email. And as a meeting organizer, like, God help if you miss some of the follow-ups and then things fall through the cracks, right? So we said, like, look, this is too complicated. I mean, it shouldn't be so difficult. So we imagined this connected meetings lifecycle that gives you a cohesive experience, like before a meeting, during a meeting, and after a meeting. So in this connected meetings lifecycle, you can have a rich, ongoing conversation with your colleagues over group chat in Teams, or which could be private group chat, or you could have it in a channel, which is a public forum with the team. And it could be rich with like documents, with pictures, that fosters a very creative collaboration cycle. As you prepare and discuss content, it'll all be in the context of that chat thread or channel thread. When you want to meet, you can simply say that, hey, I'm going to schedule a meeting from Teams, or you can do it from Outlook via our Outlook add-in. When the meeting is scheduled and during a meeting, you can simply join the meeting from any device. Like you can join from a Windows machine, as you'll see here, from a Mac, and from a mobile phone, and web, as I'll talk about later. You can continue the conversation with context so that all of the chat that you had before, all of the documents you had before are readily available to you at that point so you can quickly start presenting or discuss content. You can share your desktop or application or other forms of content like files, like I'll talk about later in this presentation. You could also record a meeting. So if somebody misses a meeting and they want to just play it back and review what happened, they can come back and click a button and play it back and catch up. Now, after a meeting is done, like typically work happens after a meeting is done too. So you can continue the post-meeting conversation in the Teams canvas. You can share it with others. Like, for example, I can mention Andrew and say, hey, Andrew, you're not there at that meeting, but we assigned some action items to you that you didn't know about. And you can schedule a follow-up meeting with context. Like, so when you go to the next meeting, all of the previous content is available for you. Or you could do a recurring meeting in Teams, and then it'll be a recurring thread, and your context keeps flowing. So that is our connected meetings lifecycle that we have worked to enable in Teams to make ours and our users' jobs easier to get their work done.
Anime, if I could just chime in, just to differentiate this from what we have today, meetings are kind of transactional. They're almost ephemeral. They're a point-in-time thing. You go, you participate. If you want to see what happened after, you got to dig. In this method, with this construct in Teams, the artifacts are all back there. You can research. You can schedule them in a channel. We'll show you this. And they just live on. Great.
So now the next big pillar of Teams meeting experience is natural and collaborative experience. So if you've seen, like in the last 5 to 10 years, like video has really taken off in the consumer world. So you use video to communicate with your family and friends. So I can be on a Skype call when I travel and see my kids at home, and sometimes use FaceTime.
All the time. Snapchat.
So if you see that, and that's coming to the workplace too. So people have become very familiar with using video as an engaging communication means to foster a rich, productive discussion. And so we have enabled a full-fledged face-to-face video experience in Teams. And along with that, like you also have immersive content. So which means that, hey, you can focus on content if you want to and drill down into it. Or if you want to focus on people's reactions to the content, you can see that too. I mean, it's your choice. You have rich sharing experiences like desktop sharing or application sharing or file sharing. And all of this experience will come to meeting rooms. There was a session yesterday by my colleagues Mike Rothkugel and Greg Baribolt where they covered different room systems. And the roadmap, I'll touch a little bit on that as we go through this presentation. The last one is meetings just work. This pillar is really key for us. And we have a lot of learnings from Skype for Business. Can you raise your hand if you had trouble joining a Skype for Business meeting? Okay.
Nobody.
Yeah, I would expect most people's hands to go up here if you have joined a Skype for Business meeting. And we realize it is hard. It is frictionful in different ways. It is hard for external users to say, hey, I just got a meeting link. I'm in Chrome. I click on the meeting link. Then I have to download something, install it on my desktop, and then join a meeting. it just takes too long to do that. And in this world, we're trying to get more done with less, and so we don't have that much time. And so we are trying to make this experience very frictionless for our users. Reliability and audio-video quality is a big focus for us, and that's why we have built a brand new infrastructure. Well, it's not that brand new, it's like 3 years, but that services Skype consumers worldwide, and it's first-class infrastructure that is based in Azure. And all of this is now available across the desktop, the web, and mobile form factors. So this is kind of where we are at Ignite. If you noticed back in March of 2017, earlier this year, as part of Teams general availability, we shipped certain features in meetings. That included like channel meetings where you have the ability to kind of meet now in the channel if people have time, or schedule a meeting for later. What channel meetings gives you is the ability to invite specific people that you want to be there, but have other people as optional. So if somebody is interested or wants to contribute to a meeting, they can. They can say, hey, I'm going to add this to my calendar, and I have thoughts on this, and I would like to contribute, and can send you a note. So that previously, for example, you have this problem of like, hey, I didn't invite 1 or 2 key people to the meeting because I just didn't know that they had all the context, right? And so this makes it more visible, saying that, hey, I'm going to have this meeting, and then if you are interested, then you should join this. Schedule meetings with anybody in the organization. This is, if you're familiar with Skype for Business, then this is pretty much the ability to invite anybody in your organization, and you can do that using Teams, or you can do that using Outlook. And along with that, we had support for one-on-one and group calls. So if you have any conversation going on, you can simply click a button and then turn it into a call like you do like in Skype Consumer, for example. Now, at Ignite, we announced audio conferencing support for Teams, which was formerly known as PSTN conferencing. And this is in public preview mode. And you can use it so that if you have a audio conferencing license, all the phone numbers that you had in Skype for Business, for example, will just work for Teams. And you can simply create a meeting. It'll have audio coordinates that people can join from their phone, or they can be dialed out to.
And this is a biggie. This is delivery on that promise that we shared on Monday to have full PSTN access within meetings.
Right. Guest access is something which Teams shipped earlier, like a month ago or so, and then that gives people outside the organization access to Teams to be able to collaborate in a chat or with content. And if you are a guest, then you can also join a Teams meeting. Teams meetings are collaborative, like I mentioned, with like the connected meetings lifecycle, with rich video, immersive content, desktop sharing, and shortly after Ignite, we are rolling out application sharing so you can share any application on your desktop. Okay. We have support for Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android, like I mentioned. And then all of this is managed, secure, and reliable, so you can control it. So you can define tenant policies that say that, hey, I want to enable this kind of meeting versus the other. You can say, I want video on versus off. It's in your hands. You also have access to a call quality diagnostics portal, which kind of lets you view all of the calls and meetings that are happening in your organization, and you can look at the quality of those audio-video calls, and you can monitor the usage as you go forward. So let me show you how this works. So we're going to launch into a demo here. Oh, actually, can you cut back to the slides, please? Like, because the demo is on this machine.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, great. So here you see the Teams environment, like in this tenant, where you can have a set of chat or group chat with a set of people that you have probably seen from different sessions, so I won't go into details over there. Now there's the Teams tab, which kind of lets you access to all my teams, where I can see the different teams I'm part of, look at different channels, look at what's going on. And if you come back and see, take to this meeting, which we work on the meetings team, so we try to recruit good candidates for our team over in the US and in Europe. So if I look at this meeting now, so I can see a meeting is already in progress, right? So this Europe recruiting tour is a meeting that is already in progress. So this gives people visibility that, hey, what's happening around you? This meeting is happening around me. Now, if I do want to go and schedule a meeting in a channel, I can do that by simply going here and, for example, saying that, hey, I want to discuss US recruiting, and I can hit this button. I can say, hey, I would like to right now, and then what that will do, it'll start a meet now where you can pretty much invite anybody in the organization to this. So now I can say that your team to this. So I can add Andrew if I want. I can add people quickly and get my work done. So now,
by putting it in a channel, you inherit the context of the channel. So if there's chat or whatever, and anything you type in that meeting, that becomes part of the channel stream.
Now, what if you want to not meet now because people may not have time and want to meet later? So you can simply go and schedule a meeting from here. You can put this in a channel. You can say, hey, test meeting for US recruiting.
Yeah, and check out, it by default is going to schedule it within the channel you're in. You can choose a different channel, but that meeting has a home.
Right. And so it gives me people's availabilities as they have available. There's a scheduling assistant that I can click and see that, hey, when people have time to meet or not. And then when I send this, it will send it for that time in the channel. And then it'll get created into a meeting object that you can see, and people can reply from this meeting, like join this meeting, or simply add other people to it. Now you might say, hey, but I don't want this thing in a channel because I want it to be private. I want to control the audience so that I'm comfortable, right? No problem. You can similarly, you can do it from here, like as in schedule a meeting form. You can simply change it to say that, hey, I don't want this in a channel. I want this to be, I started from here, hang on. There's a meetings tab that lets you access to all your meetings, which is your Exchange calendar. And this shows all the meetings on the calendar that you have been invited to or have organized. So if you wanted to schedule a meeting with a set of people, you can go from here, and you can say, hey, there's no channel selected here. I can add folks to it and schedule it from here. I'm not going to do that, but it gives you a flavor of what you can do from here.
But all your meetings show here, right? So if you schedule Teams meetings as well as Skype meetings or anything else, this is your full calendar.
This is a full calendar, as in shows whatever is on the Exchange Outlook calendar. So it'll include your appointments, it'll include your Skype meetings, it'll include your Teams meetings.
Sorry, one super cool thing, mobile is a hero experience in this product, and the meetings tab in the mobile client, especially if you're on the go, right? Super useful for Teams meetings. One click and we'll show that, but also all your other calendar items.
Right. So now you might say, hey, look, I kind of use Outlook mostly for scheduling, and that's the way we schedule meetings at Microsoft, or you might do it. So no problem. You can go to Outlook and simply say that, hey, I want to do a new Teams meeting, hit that, and then that will give you a new Teams meeting that will have a join link, and it'll have the coordinates for PSTN, so you can dial into the meeting, enter a conf ID, and be dialed in.
And you'll notice, if any of you out there use Skype, which maybe a few of you do, that this is pretty much identical. It's using a lot of the same plumbing, except the URL is purple. The join link's purple.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Everything works the same from an end user point of view, other than the fact that it is called a Teams meeting,
does say
and
Teams
the
too.
add-in says new Teams meeting and join Teams meeting. That's kind of the only difference. So I'm going to set this up for later, like tomorrow or something like that. Send it. Okay. So now, back to Teams. So now, remember I told you that, hey, on this meetings tab, you can see all the meetings that are happening. So right now, I see that, hey, this is a meeting session demo. That's a meeting that has been scheduled to demo this. This is in a channel. Like you can, for example, if you say that, hey, I want to chat with participants, like because there's a few things I want to say to the people in this meeting and say, for example, now you'll see this meeting is live, okay? It's happening. So you can see that there are people in it. I can see that there is like Andrew and Kevin in it and a few others, Richard and Greg. And then there is a rich pre-meeting chat. So we are discussing ways to go and recruit from colleges over in Europe. And so it has a chat thread about like European universities and where can we go and stuff like that. So now I can see it's been going on for like 55 minutes. I don't know what you guys have been discussing for 55 minutes.
We've been busy. Yeah, the scenarios is a university recruiting trip. But the other cool thing is, at a glance, you can see on the left rail there that shows all your teams and channels, anyone that has an ongoing meeting. So the idea is, even if this isn't a formal scheduled meeting that you're going to attend, you can jump in. So like a virtual water cooler kind of scenario. Folks are remote, people are meeting, you can see who's in there, you can see the context, and you can just dive right in.
Right. Great. So now I can join the meeting from here. I mean, I could join from Outlook if I wanted, or from the Meetings tab, or can join from here, since it's the easiest. And when I jump in, I can see the people in the meeting. Hey, guys.
Hey, how's it going today?
Can you hear me?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Hey, Ami.
I don't want to say, can you hear me now? Because you're trying to get away from that. Hey, Kevin, how are the Patriots doing, man?
Doing great. Looking for another Super Bowl title.
So what's happening here is these are real people joining from real places. So Kevin's my design manager who works over in Boston. And Richard is joining from Bellevue. Richard, the wave.
Hey,
And then Greg's joined in from somewhere in Sammamish in the Pacific Northwest. And it's 6 a.m. there, so he doesn't want to show his video. So we let you turn your video off if you don't want to show it.
But you'll notice on here, you got full bleed video. We're using the full real estate. The gallery is laid out differently. A lot of thought went into how to make this real immersive and compelling from a video perspective.
Right. And then Swati is joined from Seattle from her mobile phone.
Hello.
Hey, Swati, can you speak? Yeah, and turn on video. And so, as you see here, that I can pretty much toggle between people and content. And so Andrew here is sharing his screen. And so if you want to advance slides. So as you see, it's showing the slides and animations, and all of this is going from his machine to our cloud, where it's being mixed. And then it's being sent back to my PC, where you're seeing this, with like really low latency and high fidelity.
And using demo Wi-Fi and
using demo Wi-Fi. So you can open the roster and see like, hey, who's joined into this meeting. You can see others who are invited, and you can nudge them if you wanted to. For example, I could go and like nudge Evan, but he's on vacation in Prague, so I'm not going to do that right now. I can control the setting options, like for audio video devices. I can see meeting coordinates, like the PST and phone coordinates and so on. So that's kind of all of the in-meeting experience. There's one thing I want to show you here, or two actually. So one is that, remember the pre-meeting chat I mentioned? It's all here. So I can essentially refer back to any of the comments or questions that were made and then answer them. Now, what if I wanted to share, right? So we are bringing you an easy form of sharing. For example, I can click the share button. Oh. And then it gives you the ability to share your desktops. So like if you have multiple desktops, it'll show multiple, or share applications. So this lists all the applications on my machine. And if I want to, I can simply go and say, hey, I want to share this candidate recruiting deck. And then I am sharing that deck at one click. So you don't have to worry about finding different applications or So this makes it very easy for you to share. And while I'm doing that, you can see who's active speaker or dominant speaker on the window over here, so I know what people are saying about this deck. And now we are going to cut over to the Mac to show you the experience on the Mac. Could you cut to the demo machine, please? OK.
OK. So I'm going to very gingerly pick this up so there's no doubt what we've got over here. And this was really important to us to get a Mac up here. It actually exponentially increased the complexity of the demo. But we've heard loud and clear from you guys that Mac is really important to you, and Mac is really important to a lot of your users. So the experience and the capabilities are virtually identical. And honestly, it's between, yay!
Hey.
I'll take a little applause. It's actually an architectural aspect of Teams. So all the rich client code base, which is PC and Mac, is built on this fundamental core of the web. So Demo Gods willing will also show you Chrome on the Mac. And really, there's no way to distinguish between the different clients. So you can see, very similar to how Amay showed, I've got the full meeting content. I can switch over so we can see the full video. We can do the same application sharing scenarios, the same set of roster controls, the same full chat context that Amay was sharing. Everything that Amay showed, full fidelity, highly performant on the Teams Mac client. Is there anything else we wanted to show here?
No, that's great. I mean, this is really important for us, like Andrew mentioned. We really want to give a great experience for our Mac users. And it looks beautiful on the MacBook Pro. Or I have an iMac at home, and then sometimes I use that, or my son uses that. And it's just phenomenal to see the video on the Retina display.
It's slick. It's really slick. The transitions, it feels like a first-party native, custom built for Mac app. It's real nice.
So now I'm going to show you what our experience kind of looks on a mobile phone, OK? So I'm going to switch to what I have on mobile.
What's the phone, right?
Yeah. So I'll wait while that switches. OK. So what you have here is the Teams app on the mobile phone, where you can see your activity feed, your the chats that, I don't have right now chats in the demo tenant, the Teams environment, what teams you are a part of, my meetings, and more, OK? So here, for example, I can open a channel if I want to, and I can see that the same view I get on my desktop, a similar view I can get on my mobile saying that, hey, look, this meeting is going on right now, which is a live meeting object, and you can see all the team chat, and I can simply join from here, or I'll show you a better way. So this shows your Outlook calendar the same way as your desktop shows you. So now if I go to the meeting session demo, and I can look at the meeting details over here, and it shows me the same information. So now you might ask, like, hey, I'm on the road, and like, I want to take this call from the car, and like, when I go from like I-90 to 405, like in Seattle, there's like a data dead zone where if you're on LTE, it cuts out essentially, and you only have voice available, right? And so I don't want to be fiddling around in the car, like trying to join the meeting back in. Washington State just added distracted driving laws, so so I have to be careful. So what we have done is that this meeting link here, like you can simply click this or tap this number, and I can call it. So when I call this number, what it's doing is it is essentially handing off to the dialer on the iPhone, and it is joining me to the meeting.
So similar to Mac, this is another area of strong feedback.
Unknown participant is now joining.
The scenario that I may outline where you're mobile, you don't want VoIP join isn't a possibility, or maybe not even connected to data. Just quick join via PSTN dial is just kind of a must, kind of a min bar for the mobile. And I think we nailed it pretty much with both VoIP and non-VoIP and VoIP joins here.
Right, so now you can see on this Mac now that, this is a phone number dialed into the meeting. That's my phone number. We had a demo earlier on at Paso UC keynote where we had a phone number on screen and people called it. So
oh yeah.
so you can't do that. It'll just call my cell. And so you can also see it in the roster that hey, this person is dialed into this meeting, and you can have a conversation. And if you drop, no problem. You can just tap the link again, and like you're in a meeting. You don't have to remember some 8-digit conference code and type it on my phone and get it right while you're driving. We don't recommend that. And this is an easy way we have enabled for you to join a meeting. So now I'm going to disconnect from this, and you'll see the phone number disappear over here.
Unknown participant is now exiting.
It says unknown participant because I didn't say my name because it'll echo if I have both mics on. So back to my phone. So if you do want to, like for example, you're at an airport, right? Or you're traveling or in a hotel room and you don't want to open your laptop and you just want to join a meeting, you can simply join from here. So you can type the join button and that will essentially join you to this meeting. Okay. Well, this one is not on.
While that's connecting, I'll tell you guys a quick story. We had our internal conference this year in Las Vegas, MS Ready, we called it. And this capability was just coming out, and I had to take a call. I was in the airport, and I figured what the heck, I'd give it a try on mobile. So I'm at the McCarran airport. It's packed because everybody's trying to get out of town after this conference. I'm on LTE, AT&T, not all bars. And I managed to do the full, when we could join on the mobile, you see the full 4-stream video experience. I'm at the gate staring down at the thing. It was pretty amazing. So some scenarios that were really tough to execute with a SFB mobile client, Teams does a real great job.
So I'm going to start sharing from here and show you what it looks like on the mobile phone.
We want the phone, right?
Thank you for bearing with us. Yeah, cut to the phone. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I'm joined to the meeting on my phone, and what you can see here is pretty much it's locked rotation. You can see pretty much that, hey, look, I can see the slides on the phone. I can pinch to zoom and focus on specific content. I can see Andrew nodding his head, so I can follow this process. And then I think this got locked to landscape, so it's not turning around. Maybe we'll show that later.
You can try the unlock and lock that worked yesterday, the rotation lock.
Okay. Yeah, OK. So yeah, then you can pretty much browse content on the phone and follow the meeting from your phone. Or, I mean, we are saying a phone here, we're assuming you have an iPhone or an Android phone. It would work the same way on an iPad or a Galaxy Tab, for example.
Yeah, and on the iPad, if that's your preferred device, it actually extends, so you actually have more real estate and more controls than on the phone. And I don't know if they saw the video gallery.
Yeah, I should.
Stop?
OK. So I would stop sharing over here, and then you'll see that in a minute. OK. So now you can see the same video gallery on the phone back. And Andrew will come into the screen, then you'll see Andrew, Kevin, and Roger. And this is all happening on a mobile phone on Wi-Fi connected to our cloud. And these two machines and all of this team participating from like Boston and Seattle and so on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pretty awesome.
There's two more things we want to show you. One is, I think we should cut back to the Mac and show them Chrome.
OK.
So I'm going to disconnect from my mobile phone. OK.
So I'm going to hang up here. And we'll flip over to Chrome. So Chrome's early days. This is a preview build. We're working on WebRTC, plugin-less join via Chrome. So that's kind of but hey, isn't this cool? And also disclaimer, if this doesn't quite work right. So I'm going to join again, the same exact views. I mean, if you go full screen on this guy, if you don't look at the little Chrome tab, it's really hard to distinguish this guy from the full client.
Yeah.
So the same chat, roster, teams, meetings, all the same views.
One thing I want to add is that Chrome is a bleeding edge thing we're working on right now, and it's available for our Tab customers, and it's not rolled out yet. So this is kind of, you're seeing it fresh off the press. And so I'm just going to pray that for the demo gods to work here.
So we see in the Europe recruiting trip channel that there's this meeting that's been ongoing now for over an hour. And we'll just pop in it here. Oops.
Mute.
So no way around that. We got a live mic here until I mute. That's just feedback. So we've joined. Video's not in this release. It will be. We can do sharing. We don't quite have the videos. Got content, got the gallery. Yeah. So voila, Chrome.
So this is Chrome, vanilla Chrome running WebRTC, and connect you to a meeting, and you pretty much can participate in the meeting as you normally would and see the content. The only thing we will not have in our first version is video, seeing videos on Chrome, because there's quality aspects of Chrome itself that we need to go work on and make it better. But this lets you join the meeting in Chrome with audio and view screen sharing, which is which is important to people, and lets you participate in the experience from Chrome on a Mac or Chrome on Windows or Chrome on a Chromebook. I mean, it'll just work.
And Edge as well.
Yeah.
Not on.
Yeah. Yeah. If you use Edge, I mean, you'll get full-fledged meeting support in Edge too in the browser. And this is something which we are working on actively, and you'll see it roll out over the coming months.
Okay.
Great. OK, so now we showed you all the core meeting demo. What happens after a meeting? Hey, thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Amir.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Hey, can you cut back to the slide, please?
Yep.
OK. So now, what happens after the meeting? So what I would like to show you is, after this meeting will happen, you'll see all these replies here, and the conversation continues. So if I took notes during a meeting, they will be available here, and I can mention people. look, this says that, hey, the meeting session demo ended. Yeah, call quality was good, and stuff like that, okay? And so we can give feedback around it that our team has visibility into and acts on.
Yeah, so rate my calls over in Teams as well.
Yep. So one thing I want to show you is that we have recording and cloud playback, as I mentioned earlier. And we didn't record this meeting right now, but we have a meeting that happened like a few days ago that was recorded. And I want to show you the experience there. So this was the meeting object you saw with these people met, right? And this has been recorded. So I can play it back. For example, if I have connectivity now, it should come up.
Thank you all for joining the meeting today. Yusuf, can you please present the deck?
I can enable closed captions here. Okay?
Thank you. Today's goal is to review our university recruiting process and prepare you to interview candidates here on campus. Feel free to ask questions throughout. Before we jump in, I wanted to give you some background on what the candidates have experienced thus far. The university recruiting process allows us to identify a talented pool of students. Recruiters have proactively engaged with top students and encouraged them to apply to be considered for a first-round interview. This early and personalized engagement typically leads to a 61% increase in marketing internship applications. This led to several first-round interviews and ultimately...
So what you see here is this meeting was recorded in the cloud. You can play it back. You can catch up. You can simply see the transcription of the meeting and who said what at that time. Now, I realize that all of you guys are busy and don't have time to attend meetings during a day, let alone watch an entire hour of recording. So we will make it easier for you to simply go and search for, like, hey, I'm interested in, let's say, training that was mentioned during the meeting. Somebody told me that, hey, there's some training that needs to be taken. So I can find the point in the meeting where training was discussed, and I can play that back.
Prior to the interview event, please plan on taking the SMART interview training.
Yeah, so I got to go and take SMART interview training to get smarter. So I will do that. So this kind of gives you you see the power of this in terms of having it in the cloud and being able to index it and bring you only the parts that you're interested. And this is an active thing that we are working on and testing at Microsoft because it's a brand new area for us, groundbreaking. And so we want to get it right before we ship it to you. How cool is that?
And this is just a taste of what we'll be able to do going forward, but this is amazing stuff.
Yeah, and this is not a contrived meeting that was this thing. We had a real meeting with these 4 people, and it's there, and it's recorded. Great. So that kind of concludes our demo portion of this. How are we doing on time?
We got about 20 minutes.
We should probably quickly breeze.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I'll quickly breeze through this. But what I showed you was a channel meeting experience. I know most of you, a lot of you will be interested in private meetings and how they work. So this is already available, but this kind of gives you a quick run through of the experience. For example, if I'm in a group chat with these people, I can simply hit a schedule button, schedule this meeting, which will get scheduled. And then for every meeting, there's a meeting chat thread that gets created, like you see here on the left, like a marketing review chat. And then I can see the meeting on my calendar, as you saw, and join from there. Or I can go to the meeting chat, I can say I'm running late, and I'll join in a minute. And I can join from here, which gets me into the meeting, as you saw. I can share an application which everybody can see. We have a good mobile experience, which we demoed today to you. Similarly, we have a phone join experience from a phone, like we showed you. You can manage participants by simply looking up the roster and invoking roster actions. And all of this is really powered by our Skype next generation calling services. So these are services that run in Azure and are deployed worldwide across multiple continents, multiple data centers, and they are optimized for delivering meetings to your users. For example, if all of our users are over in Europe, right? So when they do a meeting, the meeting will be in European data centers. That puts the meeting close to them and makes meeting quality higher. And this is highly scalable service that already supports like tens of millions of Skype consumer one-on-one and group calls. It's highly resilient and fault tolerant, and it's managed like by our like super engineering team where they have eyes on it like 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 365 days a year. Now, this also includes relays which brings media closest to where users are. So we have these in multiple countries, like 16 countries and 28 cities for Teams. And there's hundreds of these machines there, and then more rolling out. And that puts the media ingress egress closest to where your users are.
I think this is one that's worth repeating. So we've done a lot of work here to push our media endpoints out to the edges of the Microsoft Cloud. And the Microsoft Cloud is pretty comprehensive. And once you hit our cloud, we've got really fast connectivity anywhere where these media services will be served out of. So what you guys want to do as you start to consume this stuff in the cloud is make sure you're getting out of your network. You know, folks are working remotely, no problem. But if you're on your corporate network, making sure that you're allowing folks to egress locally so you can hit the closest relay and not have to backhaul on your network and then potentially backhaul again on ours.
Yeah. So Satya in his keynote talked about like intelligent cloud and intelligent edge.
Yeah.
So what you see here essentially is a real example of that, where when we have intelligent cloud and we have pushed what logic makes sense to our intelligent edge, which is expanding across the world. So I want to give you a flavor of where we are going next. So this are the big areas that we are actually working on. The first big area is we currently don't have anonymous access or anonymous join to meetings. So we will enable anonymous join where you can simply invite anybody with an email address, like, click that link and then join the meeting. They will enter a lobby, and anybody in the meeting can admit them. That's one big area of things that we are working on right now. Recording and playback, we should demo it to you. We are also working on Outlook scheduling from a Mac for our Mac users and support for large meetings up to 250. We support up to 80 today. And then broadcast meetings will come to Teams, where broadcast will be nicely integrated into the Teams meeting experience. You will have much more collaborative options, like you can give and take control of sharing very easily. You can share a PowerPoint, for example. If you're working on a PowerPoint deck, it will be available in your meeting. I can say, hey, start presenting the PowerPoint, and it'll be very seamless and beautiful. The Edge and Chrome platform support is coming that we mentioned. And room systems is a big area that we realize is important to our customers and us too. And so we are working on Skype room systems, Surface Hub, the ability to join a meeting from a conference phone, or enable VTC interop between different systems. We announced earlier this at our keynote that we're working with different VTC interop providers to enable this.
Yeah, and that's another thing we shared, that we've got a couple more partners in this space, PexZip and BlueJeans, working on interop
Right.
in addition to Polycom.
Right. And from ID Pro perspective, this will be easy for you. To continue to use the same tools, like a call quality analytics portal for looking up a user's meetings or calls. You can define per user policy, and then for those of you that care about compliance and e-discovery, all of that will be enabled for Teams chat and meetings.
Yeah, and the cool thing about this is nothing custom. It'll just be through the Office Compliance Center. Some of stuff is already there, like the auditing, and you can just look for Teams tagged items. Same thing for compliance and retention. Those will just show up in the
Right.
O365 Center.
In the interest of time, I'm going to skip this as I showed you recording and playback. And this is an example of Skype room systems, which we demoed here and then is available from multiple partners, which uses the same experience that you can click or tap a join meeting button on there. It lets you into a Teams meeting, see contents, see video. And as an admin, you can look at the diagnostics portal that's available today. And you can look at Teams calls or meetings or Skype for Business. Or all of it together.
Yeah, this is nice. This is a couple weeks we started showing Teams calls within CQD. So you guys are probably, some of you at least are familiar with CQD, but this lets you proactively look at patterns, whether they're Wi-Fi, device, particular network segments, locations that are struggling for call quality, and lets you proactively fix those. And the other area, and there was a session on this earlier this week on these tools, is analytics. So this is more of a reactive, your CIO, pick your very important person that had a tough call, and you want to be able to dive right in there and figure out why. It's really powerful. It shows all the legs, including the devices, and that's coming in the next month.
Great. So I'll turn over to Andrew to talk about Skype for Business and Teams meetings, because I know you will have questions about how these may coexist.
Yeah. So I can't really see, but how many people... Here, I'm going to ask a negative question. How many people are not using Skype for Business? There's one guy. Okay. All right, so this is important. There will be a natural overlap as you guys begin to use Teams meetings. So there's no reason that you can't roll Teams as soon as you run out of the session and start using meetings and try it, or even transition to it. But there will be a period of time where you'll have both Skype meetings and Teams meetings. So this is the portal that will enable you to manage, kind of do a managed migration of users. And you can see we show that you can do side-by-side. Effectively, you have both clients. And by the way, we're engineering this so there's no worries with running both clients side-by-side. You can do side-by-side with Notify, which basically means your Skype for Business user will get a little blurb in their client saying, hey, check out Teams. Or you can, when you're ready, just switch to do Teams only. So we've got the tools in place, and there's a whole set of policies behind those settings to reflect the appropriate capabilities. But the two products are fundamentally different. So we talked before about how this stack in Teams is fundamentally different, built from the ground up, cloud native. So the Skype client cannot join a Teams meeting. It's just technically not a possibility. It doesn't understand the protocols. It doesn't have the plumbing to do it. The same is true vice versa. The Teams client will not be able to join a Skype meeting. So there'll be, but from a user perspective, I can join any of those meetings. The experience, if it's a Skype meeting, is going to look like a Skype for Business meeting. A Teams meeting is going to look like a Teams meeting. And you guys, or whoever's running your IT shop, can figure out what you want it to look like. So for example, May showed the plugin. And perhaps you think it might be confusing for your user to see a Skype meeting plugin and a Teams plugin. You're not ready for it. Whatever you guys decide, you can turn that off. Similarly, you can disable some of the granular, whether it's private meetings or scheduled channel meetings. I would encourage you not to. It's, I think sometimes we over pivot on the fact that you have multiple applications, so you decide what's best for your company. But certainly I know I've got a bunch of apps that do chat on my phone as well as meetings on my phone, and it's not that different, but we'll take a look at how it looks. So here's the scenario. So we've showed you how you schedule a Teams meeting from Outlook, right? And then if you're joining a Teams meeting, so this is the Skype for Business client. So you can, and it's Outlook on the top. So if you join via Outlook, no worries, right? It's just going to launch a Teams meeting, which I believe we showed. But if you see this in Skype for Business, so just like we showed the Teams has a meetings tab, Skype for Business does, if you join a Teams meeting in Skype for Business, it will launch the Teams client, okay? Now the reverse, if you want to join an SFB meeting, the top box is showing the Teams experience, and the bottom box is showing it from Outlook. So if you're joining it from Teams, the same thing will deep link out to the Skype app. Now, if you don't, the Skype for Business app, if you don't have Skype for Business installed, we'll join with the web experience, the Skype web experience.
And this is really key to kind of understand that, the meeting join is driven by meeting type. So if you have Skype for Business meetings, the Skype for Business link, you click that link, it launches a Skype for Business client on your desktop or your mobile phone, or on the web, it launches a Skype web app, right? Now, if you have scheduled a Teams meeting or it's a Teams ad hoc meeting, then essentially when you click on the Teams join link, it launches the Teams client on desktop or a mobile phone or a web, right? So as an end user, I can participate in the meeting no matter what type it is. In Teams, you will get a richer collaborative meeting experience like we showed you. And in Skype for Business, we'll continue to support that, and you'll get that experience. We realize that it's important for your users to be able to join Skype for Business meetings that are scheduled by others in your org as you're rolling out, or like meetings that have been scheduled by different organizations they're invited to. So we realize there's a need out there, and we are here to support that and work with you through a transition. As I mentioned, like Andrew has 15 years of experience working with customers in a very close loop to take them through this journey. And my team over in Bellevue and is committed to helping you through this transition as we move to Teams.
Yeah, so a lot of what I do now is talk to customers that are beginning to use Teams. And what we see is people that use Teams and they effectively transition out of spending a lot of time in Outlook to basically living in Teams. The meetings experiences, the Meet Now, scheduling meeting with Teams are really compelling for all the reasons we showed you in the demo. So you'll get this cohort of users that grows and grows and grows as they begin to use Teams. They're using Outlook less, they're using SFB less. And when they schedule meetings, those will be Teams meetings. They will not schedule Skype for Business meetings anymore. So there'll be this natural transition. And so going back to that first flag, at some point, you can decide when you want to flip it over. Same with dial-in conferencing. You may decide, hey, my dial-in conferencing solution remains Skype for Business, but you might want to enable that in Teams. Then at some point, you say, okay, we're good here. We're now going to have all of our scheduled meetings in Teams. So we've got the controls so you guys can figure out what the right approach and rollout is for your org. So use Teams today. Go out and try it. If you have any questions on how this plays in with SFB, find me, find Amay. I think we'll actually have a few minutes for QA, so happy to address those. But there's nothing, no matter what your configuration on Skype for Business is today, use Teams. It's in your tenant, turn it on, try it out, check out the quality, check out these new scenarios. Use audio conferencing. The content, we realize that Teams is different, sometimes hard. The content that has been launched at this event is pretty amazing. It's pretty compelling. It's really complete. It's really rich. Videos, tips for users. There's a bunch of tool tips even within the client for a first run experience to help you out. There's a ton of materials available to help you jumpstart this. And of course, the last thing on here, let us know what you're thinking. Give us feedback on how we're doing.
Yeah, if you use Teams, you can go to Teams user voice, like it's listed here. You can just type in a Google or a Bing search, and you can pretty much go and submit feedback. We rank that feedback by customers. We know what you guys are seeing, what are top issues, and we are here to help make this a better and a rich experience for you, and make this a modern workplace environment with a great collaborative meeting, collaborative chat, meetings, and calling experience. Thank you.
So, thank you guys. This eval session, please evaluate, so that'd be cool. So we have a few minutes for QA. We can give it a shot. It's really hard in a big room. We'll stick around after if we don't get to any, and I'll head down at the expo this afternoon. So if you have any further questions, you can come find me. So I think there's some mics out there if there's questions, and if I can.
There's mics out there. You can come to the podium, and we can huddle and chat too.
See if they can hear.
Yeah, question?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. I'm over to your left.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
that left.
So the biggest challenge that I see now, after hearing everything that you guys announced there at Ignite, with the transition to Teams, is there's no out-of-the-gate hardware that will support Teams meetings for our conference rooms. So in my organization, we have about 120, 130 conference rooms, and we'd love to switch over to Microsoft Teams. I mean, we're already on Skype for Business Online. There's really no reason for us to wait, except with what you just announced here today, there will never be an interrupt between Skype for Business and Microsoft Teams, which means that my Polycom devices, my Surface Hub at this point in time will never join the Microsoft Teams meeting until it gets into Microsoft Teams mode, right?
So, yeah, so let me kind of clarify that. So the things that I mentioned here, like, Skype Room systems or Surface Hub or Polycom devices, we are actively working on those things or bringing to Teams. We don't have them available for use at Ignite today. We will publish a more detailed roadmap on the timeframes when those will be available, like in the early October timeframe, and that will be public. And so you can see when that support comes in and accordingly time your usage and rollouts.
And then to piggyback off of that, for external participants, external clients, we have a lot of clients that, number one, have local admin rights removed. They cannot download plugins or anything like that. So the ability for them to join these Microsoft Teams meetings, how is that going to work? Obviously, it'll be web-based, but will they need an account? What if they don't have Office 365, the Azure AD?
No, good question. So the external users won't need any account. For example, if I invite like andrew.snyderman@gmail.com, he'll click on a link, and if he's in Chrome, he'll just get into a meeting directly. Or on Edge, the same thing will work. If you don't have a media-capable browser, like Safari or like some other browsers, then we'll be prompted saying, "Hey, please download this client and join this meeting."
Gotcha.
And that doesn't require any admin privileges or anything like that. It just Teams is a lightweight app like a webby app that installs, and you're good to go.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Why don't we switch over here?
Yeah. Where does Teams transcription fall on a spectrum from, say, the Ignite live captions down to Outlook voicemail transcription?
If I understand you right, you're asking what is the transcription quality?
Oh, the accuracy?
Yes.
Okay, so I think it's different.
Right. So what you saw there was a real meeting with 4 real users connected to their machines and having a meeting like we did right now. So as long as your audio quality of capture is good enough, like was, that is what you will see. But if you put like 5 people in the meeting room that are talking over each other, and the quality, as often happens, and then the quality of the audio will not be so good at captured, and so consequently the transcription quality will be a function of that.
Well, let's put it this way. Are the Ignite captions a Microsoft technology?
Yeah. Okay. So this is okay, so I should have clarified. So there's a service called Azure Media Streams. That's Office 365 service. So it's a video service that can broadcast videos wherever you are. You can watch it from a mobile phone or a desktop or a web. And as part of that service, they provide transcription capabilities. And they not only do it for meetings, but they do it for all videos. And so we use them under the cover.
OK, thank you.
Hi. We haven't heard anything about being able to really customize the meeting invites. So for Skype for Business for a long time, that's been an issue. In our organization, Microsoft has limited the customability to really quite a very limited set of features. Even recently, our invites now contained Microsoft messages that we have no control over, that they now appear in our invites. We'd really like to see the ability to customize meeting invitations, and I have a hard time believing we're the only organization that has made that request. I've seen it on user voice as well.
Right. Good point, actually. So, I mean, I would like to chat with you after this, and if you can leave me a card, we'll follow up directly with you. Because we are hearing this feedback, and it's something that we might be open to doing, but I just need to know. Okay.
One more question?
Okay, great. Thank you.
Let's take one more, and for you guys still standing there, please come up and talk to us. Yeah.
Hi, good morning. I have a question about the team meetings where you said we're going forward and all the new stuff that's going on. Is there a specific roadmap for it? Because I'm really interested in when the whiteboarding is going to happen and the recording, and especially the sharing apps. For example, if I want to share not my desktop and I have my email open, but I just want to share my PowerShell screen, that specific app. When is all that functionality coming?
Good question. So I will answer in 3 parts. The application sharing you saw, like we are like rolling it out now. So you should see application sharing turn on in the next 1 to 2 weeks. We follow a consumer rollout model, which is that, hey, we start with a 10% rollout, and then essentially it goes to 100% over a couple of weeks, and you'll see that light up. The recording and playback is a little more complicated. What you saw is actually functioning code that we are essentially testing and dogfooding and in TAP, and we will get it right and ship it. I don't have an exact time frame that it'll ship in, but in early October, you'll see a better visibility into, hey, how does this functionality become available over like the next 2 or 3 quarters?
Okay.
Yeah, I'll tell you what our commitment is. As Amay said, we'll have a roadmap in October. We look about a quarter out, so we'll tell you what we're looking at for the next quarter, and then aspirationally after that, and we'll keep it up to date.
All right.
So I think we're gonna.
Thank you.
I think you guys can come up over here so we can just chat.
Feel free to come back.
That'll be easier. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.